Let's talk about a really dark topic, overt slavery in early America. Not covert slavery like we're in now, but overt slavery. Some of the most abhorrent practices ever conducted upon human beings. Many of the black slaves of early America and Civil War period America were dissidents because they opposed their condition of overt slavery. Slaves of the Civil War period lived under continuous duress. They were viewed as someone else's property, forced to work under the threat of violence or death, and deprived of the very fruits of their own labor. That's the very definition of slavery. Black slaves in early America were kidnapped from their native lands and brought to America by ships over the Atlantic Ocean in crowded and unsanitary conditions, totally inhumane, unsanitary conditions. Those that even survived the journey across the Atlantic were sold at slave auctions and then taken to forced labor camps called plantations to endure indentured servitude, working crop fields in torturous conditions for the duration of their lives. Many who offered resistance were whipped or beaten mercilessly, hung, burned, or even fed to dogs alive. Laws were passed which barred slaves from escaping a state where slavery was legal to one where it had been banned. Runaway slaves were often hunted and returned to bondage. There were bounty hunters all over the northern states looking for escaped slaves from the southern states. And let me tell you something, folks. This is how the police forces of America started. Yeah, that's not revisionist history, ladies and gentlemen. That's real history. The police were started from runaway slave patrols in the northern colonies. Okay, in the northern states. Yeah, learn some true history. Study about how that really happened, instead of some of the alternative so-called theories, conspiracy theories that are out there and wildly off from the truth. There's a true conspiracy. It's not no conspiracy. It's a historical fact. Laws were even passed to criminalize helping or harboring runaway slaves. You could be jailed or worse for even helping them escape. Some Civil War era slaves, such as Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, acted as dissidents and offered resistance against the practice of slavery by escaping themselves and fleeing to states where slavery was not practiced, and then helping other slaves escape as well. While means such as these certainly showed disdain for their former masters and their abhorrent actions, many would argue that these means undoubtedly still constituted what could only be called passive resistance, since they did not directly take action against those who were conducting such hideous and immoral practices without any right to do so. Now, I'm not saying that they were wrong for doing this. They were tremendous for doing this, okay? But in my estimation, I'm just speaking for myself, it doesn't go far enough. It's still advocating simply for escape to another place where this isn't going to be done to you. How many people still think, well, where can we run to? I'm going to expatriate. I'm going to go down to, Uruguay, or Costa Rica. I'm not running anywhere. I'm staying right here and fighting this evil. Not going anywhere. That's a patriot and a being with courage to fight evil. And if I'm struck down dead, I'll be struck down dead fighting for freedom, true freedom. That being said, I commend their efforts to at least help, move slaves, former slaves, into a safe area when they had fled their oppression and enslavers, because so many laws and scenarios had been put in place to bring them back into indentured servitude. So they're to be commended at least for that. Who I commend much more and think of as true dissidents against this hideous practice were the slaves who actually physically rebelled against their masters. And let me tell you something, the media was at work as ever, painting it as something that, oh, this was a hideous, horrid massacre in Virginia. God forbid, beings that were being sold into indentured servitude and treated as other people's property were killing the people that did that thing, that horrible thing to them and put them in that condition. How dare they? How dare they kill their masters? You know? Imagine this, the media doing their job. You know, they're paid liars and paid deceivers. They were still at work then as they are today. Some slaves during this time period rebelled physically. There were many slave revolts, most of which were violently suppressed. Such revolts were subsequently downplayed or entirely covered up in modern historical accounts. Every slave ever held under these deplorable conditions and immoral conditions possessed every right under natural law to rebel against, physically rebel against, fight against, and even kill their enslavers. Now, that being said, many of them died trying to kill them. See, once again, I'm never claiming or promising anybody that a physical fight against evil oppressors is going to end well, or possibly even end with the person who's in the right still being alive. I'm just trying to explain to you the right exists, and their behavior was morally right. Morally right. Get it burned into the brain. It was a morally correct and right behavior. They had every right to do this. Some of the more famous slave revolts were Gabriel Prosser's rebellion in Richmond, Virginia in the year 1800. I'm going to skip the Haitian Revolution for a moment and come back to it. The German Coast Uprising in Louisiana in 1811, Nat Turner's Rebellion in Southampton County, Virginia in 1831, and John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry in Harper's Ferry, Virginia in 1859. The one that was not in the United States proper, but in the Caribbean on the island of Haiti, was called the Haitian Revolution, and it was the most brutal of any slave rebellion, and arguably the most successful of any slave rebellion. Because let me tell you something, folks, these guys and gals didn't play. They killed their masters often down to the last man, woman, and child with every right to do it. And then they were branded as somehow violent or barbarian, or, oh, they're so, you know, violent, or so, you know, I don't know, a non-human or something. No, they were acting in the way that they have every human right to behave when they're enslaved and oppressed like that. Because no one was coming with reason to help them be liberated, and no one was listening to the reason that the practice of holding them in duress like that was immoral and done without right. So they took up arms and did what they had to do, and you know what? They are absolutely commended by me for doing it, because that's what protecting your freedom is when you don't have any other recourse. And we're going to come to a place like that, and it's going to make the Haitian Revolution look like a little boy and girl's tea party, because of what exists, the kind of technology that exists in America. And once again, I'm trying to avert that. But without more teachers stepping up and doing this work, we're going to go right down that path of bloodshed. I'm just trying to help you guys understand what is required. This should not be my voice. I should not be the one doing this, saying this. You know, I should have 10 million choices to tag out to and have somebody else come in and pick up right where I leave off, if I so choose. Or if any of the other people so choose, there should be 10 million teachers worldwide of this information, of natural law. Minimum. I think we can get it done with 10 million, but probably no less than that. And I mean 10 million who know it as well as I know it, who know it as well as former mystery tradition initiates knew it, who knew it like someone like Richard Wetherill knows it, who knows it like someone like Larkin Rose knows it, etc. Like Lennon Honor, like all the other individuals who spoke here today. We need more teachers of true objective morality. I'm looking at you and I'm talking to you. We need to step up our efforts. People have to shed the fear of speaking out and start doing this in a way that you can reach as many minds as possible. I don't care what method you use to do it. You might not like my methodology, you might not like my tact or tone, and I couldn't give a shit. All I care about is that you put the information out that needs to be put out there, so we avert scenarios like this, because they're coming. And it's no joke, and it's nothing to laugh about. And when people recognize what war is, if it comes to this land, I'm telling you, most people are not psychologically prepared, and far fewer are physically prepared. I'm prepared in both aspects, and I'll die today if required, because I've done what I came here to do. You know, I'm fine. I'm fine with, you know, this having been my life up to this point. How many people can say that? Not many. I'm not saying that to, you know, put myself up on any kind of a pedestal. I'm just saying, when you've realized your purpose and you've done what you're here to do, there is no fear of death at all.